and welcome back to the Gumboot garden. It has been some time since we've had a chance to meet up, but I am so excited to be back here with you. I wanted to chat about where I've been, what I did to prep my garden for my 2 months away, what I've been up to, and give you a sneak peek at what the garden is looking like now. I will do a full garden tour video for next week, but today I just wanted it to be a little bit more relaxed and give you a life update. And yes, I am wearing a hat inside. Don't judge. It is so cold in here. Outside, I am not used to this, especially after my 2 months in the summer temperatures. At the end of May, I kind of went MIA, and you haven't really heard from me since. Well, as some of you may know, I currently live in Auckland, New Zealand, but I'm originally from upstate New York. So for the past 2 months, I have been back at home spending a lot of quality time with my family. And while it was a planned trip, and I originally intended on posting videos weekly throughout this whole 2 months that I was gone, didn't actually plan ahead or have any videos prepped. And well, there was so much going on at home. I just got caught up in it all and really wanted to spend that time in the moment with my family, since it had been 5 years since I'd been home last. So it was really important that I just spent my time with them during this 2 months. But before we get to all that and what I was doing, let's have a look at how I prepped my garden for that 2-month hiatus that I took, because I did leave it all alone. Let's get into the first task, which actually is to fix the garden bed in the vineyard. I have recently weeded that and put down a bunch of mulch in the pathways, but what we need to do is get down some cardboard and some fresh compost in one of the beds. Every single plant has been eaten off. Something has come in here and just taken out all of my broccoli and cabbage plants. But this one actually still has the broccoli head in it, and that one still has the cabbage head in it. So we're just gonna let them be for the moment. But I am gonna weed this, and then we're gonna put down our cardboard and actually in mulch. I have previously tried to amend this garden section with some fresh compost and blood and bone and mixing that in with the soil in this area. However, the soil is a very heavy clay, and with all of the rain we've been having, it's just kind of running down the slope of our lawn into this section and making it very difficult for anything living there to survive. So that is why I've decided that I'm putting down some cardboard now to help suppress the weeds, but also to raise the fresh compost I'm putting in here over the top of our regular soil, and hopefully that will help all of the water drain out away from any plant's roots that I am going to be planting here. And then hopefully we'll have a better chance of survival with our vegetables. Well, I don't have enough compost to fill the rest of that bed because I only bought 2 bags, but I need a 1 bag to work in my main garden with for right now. So guess I won't be checking this one off today, and here I thought that was going to be an easy one. I guess we'll move on to this next task, which I have mound and fertilize leeks and onions, which obviously we're not mounding our onions, and I don't actually think the leeks are big enough yet for us to mound them. You want to start to mound them when they're like 1 inch in diameter, but they're not anywhere close to that right now. So we'll just do some fertilizing for right now, and I'm just going to use some blood and bone fertilizer. Okay, perfect. We have 1 task done. We'll just check that off. Boom. Now we have to pull the sweet peas and the beans. The sweet peas have been in my garden, and actually when we first got them, we got them on clearance sale, and I actually thought they were snow peas. Luckily, they don't grow beans where I can eat, because I would have eaten them and they are poisonous. They have been growing. They've grown huge. I have actually been wondering why they haven't put on any beans or flowers, really. I've had like 3 flowers on them. At this point, they're just kind of shading out where I had lettuce and spinach and silver beet. So I'm going to pull them now because they're not doing anything. They're not pretty, they don't smell nice, they're just not doing anything. It's just a bunch of green, so we're gonna pull those. These beans here are actually black beans. This was the second round that I tried to grow and have been able to harvest before it got too cold, but they're all like very green and fully formed. However, we need them to dry out, and we've been having so much rain and they're being eaten by snails and caterpillars and all sorts that I'm just gonna pull them so that I can plant in some more winter crops here. Look at that, look how close they were. It's a shame. Look at that big caterpillar. Ah! I found this massive caterpillar in with those beans, and that, my friends, is why they needed to be pulled, because they were just going to continue to get eaten. Okay, I can check off one more thing on my board now, those sweet peas and beans that I just pulled out. There is only a few more hours of sunlight. I'm not really sure what else I want to do on this board. I kind of wanted to just do easy things today. I'm just amending the rest of this bed where the tomatillos were, and then that way I'm going to plant in probably some garlic in here and maybe some leeks. It depends on what I have space for. After I've finished weeding, I just come in and cultivate the soil a little bit and just kind of breaking it up in case it's kind of clumped together a little bit, because this was clay soil that I had and it has really turned into something a lot nicer now, because I've been mixing in compost and blood and bone for a few years. So the soil is really transforming, but I do still come through and make sure I do this. And as you can see along the border here, there were quite a few of the roots of the weeds in there. So this helps to kind of get those out, because I've noticed that every year that I work on this in-ground bed, it tends to like creep out further and further into my garden. So as you can see, it used to kind of be aligned with that wood fence back there, and now that front section where I do have more space to grow, I have really brought that out quite far. I am putting in more blood and bone and more compost as well, and I do this every season just to keep working and transforming this soil, because although it is a lot better than it was, it still could use a little bit more help. So I will keep doing this until it turns into that perfect soil that I want. And even after that, you want to put in a little bit of fresh compost on the top every year, just to make sure that it's you're refreshing it with some new nutrients that may have depleted from the vegetables you've grown. I've moved on to one of my raised garden beds, and I'm doing the same here, putting in some blood and bone, adding some fresh compost, and I'm putting quite a lot of fresh compost here, because you might be able to see along the edge of the bed that the soil has broken down quite a bit since I filled these beds, and I need to kind of raise up that soil a little bit, especially this bed here, because it's not very high up off of the original ground. I've enlisted the help of the cultivator at the end of this bed, because a couple of years ago I did put in some soil that I really wasn't happy with. When it dried up, it just turned into like really solid. So I really wasn't happy with that. And just at the end still, even a couple years later, it is still giving me a little bit of trouble, and the soil gets quite hard. So I just use that cultivator to just kind of break that up a little bit. All right, those are the raised beds amended. So those were all of the spaces I have left to still plant into this winter, and most of that is going to be garlic, parsnips, and carrots, which I'm really excited about the garlic this year. I have a few different types that I'm going to grow, and we're gonna see which one grows the best.
So those videos though won't be posted for another few months once we actually see how they're growing. And I think around that time, for a lot of you, it will be time to plant your garlic anyways. So it's really cool that I get to do this experiment first, and then right when it's ready, you guys get to see what the results are and decide how you want to plant your garlic. You may remember in a past video, I was clearing out the back of my garden, and I mentioned that all that wild ginger needed to be actually dug up, and I never did it. So I am back here again, and I just need to clear all this stuff out again. And today I think I'm actually going to dig up that ginger as I see it, because I think it's spreading even further. So I'm gonna get as much of that out of here as I can. But let's get this day started. This wild ginger that I have out here, I wanted to show you just kind of what you're dealing with when it's in your soil. Above the soil, you could see like a little tiny tip here, and I think it was like a little one here. But oh my God, this is like an iceberg. Look at this. This is absolutely ridiculous. So this is what I'm dealing with. This is just the little tiny bit that's spread. I haven't even dealt with that whole bit there, but that's gonna be a massive, massive chunk to pull out. At this point, I have not gotten all of those wild gingers up. I got a good amount up. I have a wheelbarrow full of the roots behind me. I've cleared like a wide enough path where they shouldn't lean into where I want to walk. They'll definitely end up spreading back, so I'll have to maintain that. So I'm gonna call this back part and call it a day and move on to something else. And you can just see like how absolutely muddy it is back here. I've obviously just been walking back here and it's just turned into all mud. Hence why it's called the Gumboot garden. Have a look at this. I have cleared the back garden here and here. So I get to check off 2 for just one task. That makes me feel good. It felt like it was 2. All right guys, we are out here in a different part of the yard right now. So this section here, please don't mind the fence. It is terribly ugly, I understand. But my thought for this year is that against this big ugly fence that's helping to keep the dog in, I want to plant all my Cape gooseberries so that in the summer, they're all big and huge and covering this big eyesore. Along this whole fence, I've actually had to build this up with soil a little bit. So anything that I have been digging out from other places, I have just been dumping there and just kind of like stomping on it and trying to build it up, because actually on the other side of that fence is a huge drop. So the dog has no problem going down it, but I do not want to go down it. I've started to try and put some cardboard down over here to kill the weeds, but over here there's a huge section I wanted to clear. I want to tear that all out, and I want it to be a pumpkin patch this year, so we'll see how it goes. But for right now, I'm just doing the Cape gooseberries. So these are quite root bound, but we're getting them in the ground, so that's good. I'm just gonna break up the bottom a bit, just so they can go out now rather than keep tangling around. I have a tamarillo, even though it just looks like a big stalk right now. I'm hoping that this is just meant to be a cut so it can regrow a whole bunch of branches in springtime. And I'm thinking that it might just be dormant now. So they were selling these at the garden store. They were half off. So I'm thinking that it's just because they don't look pleasing to the eye. They were just trying to get rid of them cheaper. If you know anything about tamarillos and if this is going to regrow, please leave it in the comments to give me some guidance, because I have no idea. I've actually been wanting to plant a tamarillo all summer long and just was like, oh, I don't really want to spend the money because it's going to turn into this huge bushy tree that I don't have space for. But when it's on clearance sale, how can I say no? I am going to try and find a space for this today. The other thing I have are chocos, whole mess of chocos I just picked up on Facebook from a woman that lives nearby, and we're gonna try and get these into the ground and grow these. Now, chocos are apparently similar to a squash, so you can cook them like a squash, or you can eat them like a cucumber on salads, and I've never actually tried one before, so this is another like new thing I'm going to try. I'm gonna try this summer. This apparently can get quite invasive, so I need to be careful where I'm putting it, and I need to make sure that I'm cutting it back when it needs cutting back. I think I found a place that I'm going to put one of my choco vines, and it's going to be right where I've placed that shovel there. Now, I did something I shouldn't have. I Google searched choco vines. And it says that choco vines can get 2 to 3 meters high and 5 to 6 meters wide, which is really, really big. Bigger than I want to deal with. So my thought is, if I put it behind me and I give it 2 meters in each direction, then if it starts to creep further than that, I just come through and like hard prune it so that it doesn't go further than that. Maybe I can maintain it in that smaller space, and hopefully we can still get some chocos from it. But this year obviously is just kind of an experimental year with the choco, and if it gets too invasive or too much, I'm just gonna pull it out and we'll just say goodbye to it. The vine grows out of this side, and the roots will also grow out of here. We're gonna put that so it's facing up. So I'm just gonna put the pointy part down in the soil like this, and probably put it, yeah, right here is good. And put this compost around it, put some more compost in. And then I'm gonna use the regular soil to just come right back in and go on top of it. We're just heading over into the vineyard garden because I think I found a spot for 2 more choco vines. All right, we're into the next section where I want to plant 2 more chocos. So I'm thinking that the first one I'll place where that shovel is, and then the other one I'm going to place down the fence a little bit, and I think they'll kind of come together. And also the one by the gate, the garden gate, if I get a trellis, it can then climb over the trellis and the other way. So that's what I'm thinking, that this kind of whole side of the fence here will be covered in chocos. I am smartening up with my planting as well, because I'm not planting an actual garden bed, and the things I typically plant that aren't in beds, Allie tends to mow over. I've got a tomato cage. I'm putting tomato cages around each of the chocos that I've planted so that they survive Allie's mower.
And with all of that, I left my garden on its own to grow and thrive. Hopefully. I haven't actually been down to the garden yet to see how it's going, but to grow and thrive as I flew across the world to be with my family. My trip was split into two parts while I was away. The first part, my mother does own her own business, so I was learning and working with her. And then in my downtime, I was doing a lot of yard work and miscellaneous tasks that needed to be done for my parents around their house. And of course, I couldn't resist, but I had to put in a small vegetable garden for my parents as well.
My mother already has set up a bit of a cottage garden style feel for her garden. She has a couple herbs in there, but mainly flowers. But over on this side where it's just kind of bare, I'm going to build them a vegetable garden. It's quite rocky in here, and I think the reason for that is this is where we used to have a pool. So I know that when they put the pool in, it had been kind of layered with like sand and some rocks. So I think that's why I'm hitting so many rocks, but that is completely fine. We will add some new soil in, and the rocks won't really make that much of a difference. I'm just kind of turning over the top inch or two of soil. So this is actually from my great uncle Percy, and he used to use this in his garden, and I thought, oh, it's a bit of an antique, but I thought I'll get out there and I'm gonna try and use it before I go into the shed and grab the pitchfork and just kind of turn it all by hand. It's working really, really well still. So even though it's an older tool, it is just kind of turning up that top inch or two of soil and doing its job perfectly. But it has a big wheel on the front, and it just has like claws in the back, and I just push it along and it's turning up the soil for me. So it's really, really handy. It only took me a couple minutes to finish that up. So what I'm going to do now that I've turned up some of that soil is I have a bunch of bags of potting soil behind you, and I'm going to get that out here. I'm going to sprinkle it on, and then I'm probably just going to go over this area with that again, just to kind of mix it into all of the soil. And that's it. It's so easy. I can't even believe how much time I've saved by using that tool. If anybody knows what the actual name of it is or have used it before, just leave a comment below, because it's like really, really cool to be able to use an old garden tool. It is pouring right now, but we're underneath a huge maple tree, so we're not getting wet. But I am hoping that the soil does get wet, because the potting mix that I put into the soil was a little bit dry, so I do want to get lots of water into that before we plant our plants. My dad came out last night and got the fence all done for me, and now it's time to plant, because we don't have to worry about those woodchucks getting in the garden. After putting in some cucumbers, I'm now putting in some tomatoes, and I'm just taking off the lower leaves of the tomatoes just so they're not touching the ground, and then I'm watering them in. Now I've moved on to peppers. So these are just regular bell peppers, and I'm just kind of evenly spacing them out along the side where I think they'll get more sun, because I think some of the vegetables are going to end up being shaded out by the tree that's nearby, and peppers really need a lot of sun to fully develop.
Then, of course, there is part 2 of the trip, and this is when the fun really began. My partner, Allie, and his kids flew over to the US for the very first time and got to meet my parents and a few other close family members. Time just flew by and we were so busy. I am exhausted and ready for another holiday. On top of spending time in my hometown, we also spent a lot of time in New York City, going shopping, visiting the Statue of Liberty, and of course going to see a Yankee game. But we also made trips to Cape Cod and Niagara Falls, and even spent a day in Vermont. Now, after a long and grueling 16 hours on one flight, we are back safe and sound in New Zealand, but also very, very cold. However, things are, or should be, growing in the garden. So let's have a quick look to see what they're doing. I have my gorgeous orange tree that has been growing out here on the deck. I've put it right up against the house here because I didn't want the wind to hit it too hard, but there are 2 oranges growing on there. And I noticed the parakeet out on the deck the other day, and I now know why. Look it. The parakeet has fully gotten in here and bit the orange, and for a minute I thought, oh, that's fine, I'll be able to salvage it, but it has also got the underside, and now there's heaps and heaps of ants in here, so this one has got to go. Apologies, my mic is having a bit of issues, so I'm just going to voice over this, but we are just chucking this orange. And we're going to have a look at the other orange I still have here on the tree. It is beautiful and orange. Rocco thinks it's great as well. So we're going to pick this one. Oh, look how gorgeous that is. We're going to bring this one inside. The second thing I wanted to show you is my orange habanero plant. As you can see, I have had this overwintering inside the house, and while I was away, I actually put it on top of this bucket here and filled it with water and stuck a wool string going up through the top, which I'm not sure if this actually helped or not, but it's still alive. It still has all of its leaves, unlike the plants I have overwintering outside, but as you can see, it has something going on with its leaves, and if you look closely, there are some fungus gnats on there that we're dealing with, as well as these white crystals on the leaves. If you have any idea what these are, let me know. I don't know if it's some sort of mineral that is coming out of the leaves because it's being overwatered or underwatered, but there are some habaneros on there ready to pick. So I need to pick those, and then we'll give some love and tender care to this habanero plant. And lastly, I wanted to show you my choco, which I know looks really disgusting, but it is now starting to grow some roots. So it's been stuck in a little bit of water, and it has a huge long vine coming off of it, which is doing really fantastic. Oh, don't mind the other flower there. But its vine is growing and growing, and I did have 3 or 4 of these that I did plant outside already, and it's been so cold here in Auckland, they have just died off. Now, I don't know if they are going to regrow because, as you can see, it's just a fresh, well, used to be fresh choco that I had just planted into the ground. So I don't know if they're going to come back if they weren't already established. But if not, I have this one ready to go when spring comes and all the temperatures warm up. Those quick tidbits are all I'm going to show you for today. You'll have to wait for the rest until next week, when I give you that before and after shot of the garden to show you how it's going. But in the meantime, have a look up here and I will post one of my old garden tours for you to watch. while you wait. It has been fantastic as always to be back here with you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.